Good evening, beautiful ladies. Welcome, Shravya. We now invite Pallavi Pava, our dear joint treasurer, to initiate the session, please. Pallavi, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I warmly welcome our FLO members, students, and versatile learners to today's informative and instructional workshop. Haven't we all experienced the struggle to put our thoughts in a lucid and expressive manner into words? Sometimes we find our thoughts run away with themselves, but when we try to rein them in and formulate words on paper, we find it's just not good enough. Today, let's put an end to these writing wars. Today's creative writing workshop has been organized by our FLO Literary Circle for all our members and the young enthusiasts who are going to be taking the lead in participating and putting up their queries. With the advent of Children's Day, it is only befitting and appropriate that our Gen Next takes over. Today's workshop aims to help us all to engage in prolific literary activities, to help us elucidate our thoughts into wonderful words, and also sail through these unprecedented times well equipped with skills for a lifetime. And to guide us all in this endeavor and help us comprehend the various nuances of writing, of creative writing, and to elucidate our thoughts into wonderful words and also sail through these unprecedented times well equipped with skills for a lifetime. And to guide us all in this endeavor and help us comprehend the various nuances of writing, we have amongst us Ms Shravya Bhinder, an avid reader and a successful novelist. Now I request Ms Puja Chopra, head of FLO Literary Circle, to please take over.
Thank you, dear Pallavi. I truly believe that creativity is a virtue and a very important 21st century skill set. And creative writing as a discipline allows us to investigate the world using our imagination, knowledge, and language. We have amongst us Mrs. Shravya Bhinder, an eminent author of 2 bestsellers, Something I Never Told You and To You with Love, to conduct a workshop on the subtleties and nuances in creative writing. Armed with her English honours degree from Delhi University and her diploma in creative writing and her corporate world experience, she's created ripples with her new book, To You with Love. She lives in Melbourne with her family in a house with a barren backyard and a lifetime collection of books. Her genre has been romance, and she strives to pen down exciting stories. Just a few lines from her prologue. Life means many things to many people, and so does love. Neither life nor love can be lived in a way where there is nothing new to add or nothing old to remove. Definitions change with time, place, and the people who define it, yet the essence remains the same. To me, love and life both mean you. Wow, so beautifully expressed, Shravya. We also have with us on board Dia Bansal from Southpole Middle School, the student ambassador for the event. A blogger at mind, a baker at heart, an avid reader, an ambitious and perceptive teenager. Dia Bansal is sure to impress us all as she seeks new experiences which support her love for literary work. A warm welcome to you, Dia, and over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Today, amongst us is a person who was born to be a novelist. She grew up surrounded by books and began writing at a very young age. With time, her small scribbles turned into short stories and later into novels. An avid reader, she loves to explore adventures life has to offer. I, Dia Bansal, on behalf of FLO Ludhiana, am honored to welcome our esteemed guest, Mrs. Shravya Bhinder. Now I request Mrs. Shravya to kindly take us through this informative and interactive creative writing workshop.
Thank you, everyone. That was a very warm and overwhelming introduction. So, hi, everyone who is logged in and who's listening to this video. So, my name is Shravya. I am an author. I call myself a novelist. I have a few novels in my kitty, and today I will take you through a short course on creative writing. I expect you to take teeny weeny bits out of it and improve your creative writing skills. In general, creative writing also helps in our lives. So try and incorporate whatever you can in your writing journey in general. So we can begin with the slideshow there. So I did title the course as Finding Your Creative Niche with Shravya Bhinder. And we will cover a few topics today. We can move on to the next slide to see the topics. So we will begin with what exactly is creative writing. And then we'll move on to differences between creative writing and technical writing, purpose of creative writing in general, what is fiction as per me from a writer's point of view, elements of fiction in a nutshell, though there are a lot of elements of fiction, but we'll try and give you a few elements to work on, things to establish before you begin writing anything in general and fiction in particular, pro tips that I've learned over the years and I try and incorporate when I write too. Shravya's 2 cents, just a bit from me that I feel will help any writer go far, far ahead in their writing journey. And towards the end, we can discuss some question answers. So we'll have a few questions and we can begin with the first slide. What is creative writing? Now, as the word says, creative writing is writing creatively. The word-to-word definition of creative writing is it is any form of written word which falls outside the professional, journalistic, academic, or technical form of literature. There is a degree of narrative craft, character development, and uses of other literary elements involved. So when you think of creative writing is a form of writing wherein you can let your mind loose. You can think about the possibilities and pen them down as per your whims and fancies. So mostly when I say that I will be talking about writing, people tend to ask me questions about other forms of writing. And which is why I have put in the definition here, because it's very important for you to understand what exactly is the difference between creative writing and technical writing. So when we move on to the next slide, we'll see that creative writing actually, here we can move on to the next slide. Yeah, creative writing would consist of things like plays and poems, songs, scripts, novels, novellas, films. There can be a bit of truth-telling, reporting involved in creative writing. However, creative writing completely depends upon fiction, dialogues, narration, your own thoughts. However, technical writing like speech, articles related to journalism, applications, resumes, letters, etc., they are primarily based on facts. You can't really make changes in them. So that is a basic difference between creative writing and technical writing. And now when we know the difference, we can move on with creative writing. That's one aspect of writing and get more into it. So the next slide talks about the purpose of creative writing. Why do we write creatively? So everybody has a different purpose of writing. You can have one or many of these purposes behind any creative piece that you make. So you are either sharing your experience, you could be telling a truth about humanity, you could be sharing your own imagination, or probably just a perspective of what you feel about an issue, your thoughts, random in general. So the main purpose of creative writing is to let your thoughts flow on paper. Sometimes we feel that a lot of thoughts are just pressed and compressed in our head and we're not able to talk about them with our friends, family, parents, even to ourselves at times when you stand in front of a mirror and you want to just vent out, you're not able to do that. But with creative writing, you can actually talk to somebody, that is a paper. You can scribble, put down all your thoughts and feel lighter in your head. Now, moving on to the next slide, now that we understand the creative writing, the reason why we write creatively, I just wanted young readers and writers to have a second of pause and give a few words of motivation. So Anais Nin says we write to taste life twice, in the moment and in retrospect. There's something that I truly believe in. So one reason why I choose to be a creative writer, why I choose to write novels is that I want to experience life twice, thrice, multiple times. Sometimes you are in a situation and the situation does not go as per you. Sometimes you're in a situation and you're not able to express things as to what are you feeling in that situation. So after living that moment in reality, when I go back to my diary and scribble, I live the same moment in retrospect. Sometimes I live the same moment differently. Sometimes I live the same moment same, but I look at it from an outsider's point of view. So moving on to the actual session. What is fiction from a writer's point of view? Now, having written fiction all my life, I believe that fiction is a form of writing that gives you a lot of freedom. Fiction gives you the leeway of going beyond the boundaries without anybody interrupting your path. Fiction is a powerful tool. Sometimes fiction can also help you heal. I believe that fiction helps you heal because sometimes we do not want to come out and say things because of embarrassment, and we mask the entire package as fiction. So fiction is one of the most powerful tools that we have as humans. We have the power of the written word. We can influence people, we can guide people, we can heal people through fiction. That's my point of view. Now, moving on to the next slide. Now, as I said, we will discuss elements of fiction in a nutshell. Now, this is one slide wherein I will spend some time. As for me, there are three primary elements of fiction. First is your characters. Characters would mean there would be a protagonist, there would be people who would be around the protagonist, there would be some characters that will just be named in the book, but every character, every individual has to be developed properly in fiction. So that is the base element of fiction for me. Then comes time. What time are we dealing with when it comes to your particular form of writing? So when we start writing, say you want to write in past, present, or future tense is the first element of time. So do you want to narrate the entire fiction as it is happening right now, as something that has happened in the past, or like a time traveler who's actually moved forward into time? Second sub-element of timing is what era are we talking about? Are we talking about the present era? Are we talking about 50s? Are we talking about 90s? Again, are we talking about future? Time in general is very important element of fiction. And the third very important element of fiction is setting. Now, setting can be multiple things. You can, if I say setting on a broader scale, it could be the entire story could be set between 2 continents, 3 continents. It could be set in one country, multiple places, or a writer can actually set everything just in one room, wherein the characters are only in one room and everything's happening around them. So what do you choose your setting to be, and how do you play with the setting? These three things are very important in terms of writing fiction. And when you club them together and they move into harmony, that is when a page turner comes out. So in order to bring out a page turner, before you start writing, you have to work a little on character development. Think of the time that you are comfortable writing about, because right now we live in a generation wherein there's a lot of WhatsApping and Facebook and Tinder and whatnot happening. Now, if somebody from today has to go back and put their story in 1980s, they have to really wipe out the entire slate of WhatsApp and Facebook and Zoom, etc. And in their head start living in 80s. So a lot of work goes there. And the third is setting. Before you start writing, you work on setting of the book too. Now moving on to the next slide. Things to establish before you begin writing. The first, now whenever I read a lot of messages from a lot of people who say that I want to write, tell me how to start writing, I always tell them that before you even begin writing, there is work involved. And if you do this work well, the writing comes out very smooth. And you don't have to do a lot of back and forth in your script. So the first thing that you have to establish is, who's the story about? Is it about a person? Is it about a problem? It is about a social issue? Is it about life in general? Or is the story the hero? So you have to establish this before you start writing. So this has to be the main point of the synopsis. What is the protagonist's goal? Now every story will have a takeaway, and every story will have a protagonist. It can this person can be the hero, the villain, the heroine, or just the situation in general, society, a rule. But what is the role? What is the goal? What do you want to achieve out of your story? So the first thing is, what is the story about? The second is, what do you want to achieve out of the story? And because these two things are already there, the third thing automatically comes is, what's stopping the lead in reaching that goal? That is the antagonist. Who is the villain? It can be, again, an emotion, a person, a habit, nature, anything, but it has to be defined before you start writing. Then you have to think of how would you create obstructions, because creative writing is all about fun, and it has to be like life. In life, you try and do something, there are always obstructions, and you overcome those obstructions. So this is something that you have to bear in mind from the beginning, and you always have to think, okay, after 10 pages, probably after one chapter, one obstruction has to come, because this is the goal of the book, that obstructions will start happening. If there is no obstruction, if the story is running smooth, the reader will lose their interest. Choosing a POV, point of view. Now, point of view would mean, whose point of view are you going to share the story from? Now, because I assume that most of the listeners are young, if you have read the Twilight series, which a lot of you might have, the Twilight series has been written from the point of view of Bella, and Midnight Sun, the latest one, has been written from the point of view of Edward. So before you begin writing, you have to figure out whose point of view are you more comfortable writing in. Like I have written both my romance novels from the boy's point of view. So you have to determine the point of view in the beginning. However, some people nowadays have started writing one book with two different point of views within the same book. That's a very experimental thing to do, that can be covered later on in your life. But to begin with, always identify the point of view. Choosing the right beginning. When somebody picks up the book, they get hooked onto your book from the beginning itself. You would have left a lot of books after the first 5 or 10 pages. So it is very important to choose the right beginning, and then continue with an order in the story, so that the reader doesn't lose you, and you also don't get lost within the order of the story. So these are the things that we establish before writing, or before even starting to write fiction. Moving on. pro tips. Now, these are not necessarily only my tips. These are the tips that I've got from people around me and from also the courses that I've done. Yes, a book can. So I just read a question. It just popped up somehow. It was related to point of view. Yes, the book can be written from a writer's point of view, which can be a third party's point of view, wherein you are neutral and you talk about both the people's point of view. If that is what the question was, I just saw it blink and then run away. So pro tips are to create a touching piece of writing, it's best to simplify your thoughts. Start with an outline of topic and identify highlights, which can be applied to whatever subject you plan on discussing. Now, why have I put this in pro tip is mostly when we start writing, because whenever it's our first work, we have a lot of jumbled up thoughts in our head. And those jumbled up thoughts do not come very well on paper. So they're good for venting. If you have jumbled up thoughts, you can just vent them out on the paper. However, after venting them out, you have to cross the ones that don't make relevance and don't have any relevance, and then simplify your thoughts. The synopsis has to be simple. The story can be complex, but the synopsis has to be simple for you to be able to understand it. Because what happens is at times, writers get lost within their own story and then nothing comes out. So simplify your synopsis and the crux of your writing. Always create a synopsis. Never think that in my head, I have the story. Now let me start writing. Create a synopsis. Your story might not go as per the synopsis, but once you put it down on the paper, you will realize how burden-free it feels and how structured the entire thing feels. The beginning is one of the most important elements, as I have told you in the previous slide. Keep your readers hooked from the beginning. Sometimes I think for weeks and weeks at a stretch about the beginning of a book, because I feel that if the beginning is interesting, and even if one chapter is dull post the beginning, the reader will still read ahead because you have given the reader a hope that the entire thing will be interesting. So keep the most interesting part as the beginning. Make your dialogue very interesting. Now, most of the work in fiction will have dialogue, should have dialogue. Dialogues are beautiful tools. Use them. Sometimes, especially during your first work, you will not know how to write dialogue. And you will try and fix them somewhere or the other. Don't do that. Write a chapter, and if you've not written a dialogue, it's fine. After 10 to 15 days, go back to the chapter and read it and play it in your head, and you will hear dialogues. This happens when you're creative. This happens. So you will hear dialogues and then make notes and then put them in your writing. And the last is always have a backstory for your characters. Now, if somebody has read To You With Love, they will know that even the lead's parents had a backstory, his best friends had a backstory. So if you're just playing with one story in the entire book, which is 50,000 words or more, it gets dull. So for every character, you should have a backstory so that you can put in something about that character from the backstory and make it a little interesting. So all the characters will be interesting. It will not just be a hero and heroine who will be interesting. All the characters will be interesting, and the book in general will become more interesting for you. So moving on to the next slide, which I think is Shravya's 2 cents. So I believe every story has its own soul. Let your story take its course. Make changes as and when the story demands, because not everything goes as per our plan in life or in our stories. So what I mean by saying this is, whenever I write a book, I write a 1-pager synopsis, and then I start writing the chapters. Sometimes, let me rephrase it, most of the times, the story takes its own course. So if I say A will meet B and then they will meet C, what happens is A will meet B and then they don't meet C, they meet some D random person, and the story takes another turn. It's okay. not necessarily the original story that you had put into the synopsis will make it to the book. It's very good to have the synopsis. It gives clarity to your mind. But while writing the story, if the story changes its course, it's all right. Go back into the chapters and make the necessary changes. Because believe me, as you start writing, your story will go better. So the synopsis that you would have thought in the beginning, if anything is changing, trust me, it's going better. Let it go with the flow. So now we have the next slide, which is, thank you. Okay, yes, because I did see a lot of questions also popping up. So I would like to answer the questions, and this is a snapshot of creative writing from me. And over to you, Dia. Thank you so much for running the presentation for me.
Thank you, Dia. We begin with the question answer session now, and I would like to invite Shweta Jindal, our editor-in-chief, to kindly facilitate the quick Q&A session for all of us. Warm welcome, Shweta, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Puja. Thank you, Shravya. It was a delight to listen to you. And we have a very curious audience. Of course, our chat box is full, Shravya. But before that, we have our kids here who would like to get their queries answered from you. So let me call them one by one. I would request Mannat Kothari to come forward and ask her question, please. Over to you, Mannat.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for the lovely session. Ma'am, sometimes I write about something but go completely blank about what to write next. So my question is that how can we write about topics we don't know much about? Can you teach how to start an online search for the topic or offline courses if there are any? And are there any special websites which help in content writing?
Yeah, sure. So mostly what you will end up writing will be something that's new for you. There will be elements which you are familiar of, and you will try and incorporate those elements in your writing. However, it is not possible to only write about your life. So if you have to search, Google is a good option. However, try and find a person who has lived through the entire experience. Their knowledge and their information will be accurate. So what I do is I try and ask around me, and mostly because we know so many people, mostly somebody or the other has experienced those things. So try and take interviews, record those interviews and go back to them while you're writing. Google is good, but do not just rely on Google. Read books related to the same topic. Like I was planning to do something on mental health, and I did read a lot about mental health around that time, and that helped me a lot. Though I did not go into detail of mental health in my book, but even for the overview, I wanted it to be, really, really authentic. So Google was not the only source. You have to meet people, and you also have to read a lot. And then you asked me about content writing, was it? I think I heard content writing. No, I can't get to the person. So if it was content writing, I am sorry, I've never done content writing in my life, but I am sure there are a lot of websites because I know a lot of people who do content writing. For content writing, there are courses available. In fact, any course that deals with creative writing will also talk about content writing. But content writing is fairly easy if you have a niche for it. So start writing your paragraphs on particular topics and keep them as samples, because these websites will ask you for samples. That is one thing that I know of.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mannat. Thank you, Shravya. Now, may I request Dia Bansal again to come forward and ask her question.
Good evening, ma'am. The session was very, very interesting and interactive. So, ma'am, my question is that suppose I have a content which I need to get published as a book. What are the guidelines to publish your own book? What are the steps involved in crafting your own book? And how can we make sure our book acquires raving fans?
Okay, so when you have your manuscript ready, you can start pitching that manuscript to publishers or agents. Now, in India, there is not a big scene of agents, but outside India, you have to go through an agent to reach a publisher. The good thing about India is that you can directly reach out to the publisher. Most publishers will ask you for a synopsis, which is a one-pager, the first 3 chapters of your book, which should ideally be proofread, and try and get as many errors out because they like to read cleaner work. And they will ask you for some time, which is like 3 months or some weeks. This information will be specified individually on every publisher's website. So this is something that needs a lot of work. Once you're done with your manuscript, take out the best 3 chapters or the first 3 chapters, write a very good synopsis, write a cover, and then go to each website and see who can do justice to your book. Like a lot of publishers only publish good mythological fiction. Some publish good everything. So who do you think would be the right publisher for you? Choose that publisher, go to their website, find out what do they need, and then send in a proposal and wait. If you do not want to do a lot of waiting game, there are a few agents now available in India. They do charge some part of your earning as and when that happens, not upfront. That is what I know. So you can send your work to them. If they're interested, they will send it to the publisher. It will be quicker that way. How to get the book raving fans? Now, that is something that happens over a period of time. The first time you will launch it, you would want more and more people to read it. So it's better to reach out to a lot of people, inform them that the book is out, tell them to read it and review it, but also have a lot of patience. I had a lot of patience with my last book. Something I never told you, first released as an ebook in 2017, then released as a paperback in ebook in 18, paperback in 19, and then it became a bestseller in August 2019. So you have to have patience. Don't lose that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Dia. Thank you, Shravya. Now, may I please request Nyoshka Segal to ask her question from you?
Yeah, hi, good evening, ma'am. The session was really helpful. So my question was that what are the basic elements of creative writing we should focus upon?
So thank you for your question. We did discuss 3 basic elements of creative writing. Apart from that, there is suspense, there's conflict, there's dialogue, there is line break, induction, characterization, point of view, rhyme, rhythm of the book, of the storyline. These are things that you go in depth into. However, to write fiction, if you begin working with 3 basic elements, the ones that I discussed, and you try and hone them, that is the best technique. Don't get a lot into the elements. Focus on 3 basic elements and work on them, as for me.
Thank you, Shravya. Now, may I request Idhant Mittal to kindly come forward and ask his question?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for being here. Could you please share some tips on writing a children's book or a memoir?
Okay, these are 2 separate things, Siddhant. A children's book is a children's book, and a memoir is a memoir. I think you want to know about children's book. So I have never written a children's book, honestly, but I think the children's book has to be very gripping. It has to be interesting. There has to be an illustrator involved. So if anybody out here wants to write a children's book, the first thing is to find a gripping story which has a moral, find a good illustrator, and then work towards children's book. When it comes to memoirs, for those of you who would not know what a memoir is a powerful tool wherein the writer thinks that my life is very exciting and let me write about a part of my life. So this is a factual account of somebody's life written by their own selves. It is a little different from autobiography because only a certain section of your life is talked about, say a day or a two or a month. Memoirs are really helpful in giving out information, in making people come out of their own problems. And if you want to write a very impactful memoir, always remember that though the memoir is yours, it's not for you, it's for the reader. So write it from a point of view wherein the reader can benefit out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shravya. Thank you, Dhan. Yes. Now, may I please request Jenna Bembi to come forward and ask a question. Over to you, Jenna.
Thank you. Good evening, ma'am. I'm just loving the way that you're explaining us each and everything in such great detail. So my question for you is that how do we proofread our work?
Okay, so if it's a smaller piece of work, I would suggest that you proofread it on your own. The best way to proofread your work is once read it on the system, because nowadays we all do typing and type it on the system. Take a printout and read it with a pen in your hand. That way you will be able to take out the errors accurately. And then you can, for the final bit, you can actually depend on a free tool like Grammarly. I do that. You can depend on a tool like Grammarly, which will take care of your tiny punctuation errors and spelling errors. And then it's good to go to a publisher because they do not expect 100% work. However, if you want to publish it somewhere, say your school magazine or anywhere else, once you're done with your proofreading, ask somebody who has read more books than you have read and give them the printout, not on the system. Give them the printout and tell them to proofread it for you one final time. So you do your own steps and then you give it to an adult or somebody who's read more books and they can do the final proofreading for you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shravya. Thank you, Jenna. Now, may I please request Viraj Jindal to come forward and ask his question?
Good evening, ma'am. My question to you is that whenever I write in creative writing or an essay, I run out of ideas. How do I enhance my creativity?
Shravya, did you get that question?
No, I'm sorry. It just said the video has been spotlighted or something. I'm sorry.
Okay. So his question is that whenever he starts to write a creative writing...
Shweta, may I interrupt? Let Viraj speak it.
Okay. Please. Viraj, please repeat your question.
My question is that whenever I write in creative writing, I run out of ideas. How do I enhance my creativity?
Okay, so the best way to work on your ideas and vocabulary and even your flow of thought is reading. So whatever you want to write will only come if you are a very, very avid reader. If you read well, if you read regularly, if you read the kind of books that you want to write, you should ideally never have any issue when it comes to these tiny writer's blocks. And even if they come, they should go away after a night of sleep. If they are there, then the only option is to read, and read. Stay away from your smartphone, stay away from your laptop. Do you sit in front of the laptop all the time?
Not all the time, but sometimes
Mom can answer that.
Then read.
Shweta, do you want to say something here?
Thank you for that message. The kids really need to learn that they do not need to use the smartphone so much. Thank you for giving out this message to the kids. Thank you so much, Shravya. Thank you, Viraj. So we have a chat box also full, Shravya, if you would just like to answer a few of those.
Sure.
So Ashni wants to know, can a book be written from the viewpoint of the writer?
Yes, it can be, wherein you become the third party and you become the narrator. And as a narrator, you start narrating the book. Now, when you start writing a book from a writer's point of view, you will not be able to write about the in-depth emotion of the character. So it will be more of a storytelling as a storyteller. However, when you choose one particular point of view, the good thing is that you can actually go into the character and even talk about their thoughts, their plans, their imagination, which is why it is suggested that you choose a point of view. But even a writer's point of view is a point of view, and you can start writing from a writer's point of view.
Thank you, Shravya. Kriti wants to know that can a book be written from several characters' point of view, like 4 to 5 characters?
There's no hard and fast rule when it comes to writing the books from different point of views. I have read a couple of books which are written from using 2 or 3 point of views at a time, wherein the writer actually uses the name of the character as a chapter. So say Alex will be the chapter, and the same instances will be repeated from his point of view, then the next person's point of view, then the next person's point of view. Though it is a good idea, it can actually make the reader hooked onto your book. At times it can backfire too. At times it can be too repetitive and boring. So you have to tread carefully. But 2 characters usually does happen. More than 2 characters, I think that's not a zone that I've been into so far. So.
All right. Thank you, Shravya. Then Puja wants to know, can a point of view be a comparison of eras?
See, when I say point of view, I was standing and they see cars, and where's my father going to us?
More or less, yes. Thank you, Shravya. Ashni also wants to know that is there any particular platform where we can find the best publishers in India? Can we find the publishers online? Is there a platform where we can access and find?
Shweta, your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking. I'm sorry.
I'll repeat myself. Is there any particular platform where we can find the best publishers? Can you hear me?
Okay, so I think I got it.
Where can we find the best publishers online, or where can we contact?
Okay, so yes, I can hear you now. Thank you for repeating the question, Shweta.
No worries.
So the best way to connect with the publisher would be through their email ID. There are a lot of people working in publishing who are there on Instagram and Facebook, but I don't think directly connecting with anyone does any good. If you want a direct contact, it should be via an agent. Then, if you feel that you would want to work with a certain kind of publisher and you're not able to choose, then connect with an agent. And the agent, after reading your manuscript, will be able to tell you who would be the right publisher. There's not one platform where you can go and see the kind of publishers that are in India. Even if there is a listing available, there would be like a random website listing available, but you can go to a bookstore and you will see either imported or printed within the country. So those are the handful that you should reach out first. And no matter what you do, I know it's not related to the question, no matter what you do not pay to get published. This never works. So self-publishing should not be an option.
Thank you, Shravya. So one last one, that is writing an autobiography is also part of creative writing?
Yes. See, autobiography, though it is supposed to be an account of true events, but it's your word against mine. So it comes under non-fiction, but the writing is non-creative writing because I can't really go back and think of a word-to-word dialogue that happened between me and my mother. My mother and I would have discussed something, but I would not know a word-to-word thing. So I'll have to get creative. Secondly, there would be certain things that happened in my life which I will have to tell you in a way that they are more alluring, they are more binding, they are more interesting to you. So these tools are used during the writing process of autobiographies too, which is why they're not considered journalism. And because it's not journalism, it does fall under creative writing. And there are special writers who do help people with autobiographies too and biographies.
Thank you, Shravya. A lot of takeaways today for my children as well. I'm going to tell him to talk to the paper, as you rightly said, and a lot of takeaways. Thank you. So I'm going to tell Dia to come forward and give the final vote of thanks.
I extend my heartfelt gratitude and a sincere thank you to Mrs. Shravya Bhinder for giving such an useful insight on mastering the art of creative writing. Thank you for such an informative and enriching workshop. With so many takeaways from this session, I am sure many of us are more empowered to find and explore our creative niche. I would also like to thank Mrs. Mannat Kothari, Chairperson FLO, for believing in me and giving me this wonderful opportunity as a student ambassador for the creative writing workshop. Lastly, I would like to thank Mrs. Pallavi Pava for her insightful inputs and Mrs. Puja Chopra at FLO Literary Circle for guiding me and helping me find my strengths. Thank you all for joining in and for being an amazing audience.
Thank you so much, dear Dia. You were amazing. A very big thank you to all our enthusiastic learners. Thank you, Shravya, for such an enriching experience and how we can find our own creative niche. Gifting with a purpose and gifting to help sustain a better planet has been the motto of FLO Ludhiana. And we would like to present a green certificate to you. The idea behind the green certificate is that in FLO, we believe in creating permanent, lasting memories. Hence, we plant a tree in the name of our esteemed guest of honor, and this green certificate is a testimonial to it. I would request the IT team to kindly show the green certificate for Shravya, please.
IT team, could you please show the certificate again? We could not see it. It was blank.
Thank you, FLO Ludhiana. It's very humbling and it's very beautiful. Thank you. This is really nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Dia Bansal. Your contributions as a student ambassador have been commendable. We would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation. May I please request the IT team to kindly show the certificate of appreciation for Dia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, IT team. We have certificates of appreciation for our enthusiastic learners and they will be sent across. I'm truly grateful to the dynamic FLO Literary Circle team, Pallavi Pava, Reena Kaushal, Shweta Jindal, and Ashni for their unconditional support and guidance. With their magic wands, they ensure that all our events are a success. Thank you so much. A special mention about Aina for all her help during the session. And last but not least, I'm truly thankful to Mrs. Mannat Kothari, the chairperson, FLO Ludhiana, the captain of our ship, for providing us these wonderful opportunities to interact, enrich, and empower ourselves in these unprecedented times. Now, may I request our dear chairperson to kindly speak a few words and declare the results of the emoji contest. Over to you, Mannat.
Thank you so much, Puja. I was making notes while you were speaking and I quite really like this. We write to taste life twice, one in moment and one in retrospect. Beautiful. Words have power. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and Word was God. That was a Bible verse. So choose your words wisely. Thank you so much, Shravya, for this most insightful session on creative writing. Now, announcing the winners for emoji contest. Okay, guys, please be ready with your cameras on. We're going to move the spotlight to you. Radhika Ladia, do we have her here? Radhika Ladhya. Yeah, Radhika, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Mannat. It was a very interesting competition. I loved it. I was so excited about it. Yeah, it was really fun.
Congratulations, Radhika. Second
Thank you.
winner is Vasudha Gupta. Can we move the spotlight to Vasudha Gupta? She's here. Vasudha?
Yes, hi Mannat, I'm here. I'm so sorry guys, please excuse me, I can't switch on my camera.
That's all right. You're there in space with us. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Vasudha.
Thank you so much. It was really interesting and I was so excited. My internet crashed and I was like, shit, I would not even, be the first one to enter, and I knew all the answers. So I'm so happy that I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome, Puja. I have to thank our Literary Circle head, Puja, for putting her heart, life, energy, and soul into curating this event, and my dexterous team for always being there at the drop of the hat. Last but not the least, our first student ambassador for the event, Dia. You were really brilliant. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to you, Puja.
Thank you, Mannat. Thank you so much. My heartfelt thanks to our annual platinum sponsors, Orica, Akshita, Araya Resorts, Vandana Verma, Headmasters, Karanveer Sidhu, IMC, Satyan Bhatia, Manav Mittal, Mangalam Diamonds, our gold sponsors, KJ Forgings, Amit Kothari, Sood Studio, Shelly Sood, our silver sponsors, Nidhi Jain, makeup artist, Glam Talks Magazine, Sania Chavla, PR partners, Pinambara, Sukriti, technical partners, 01 Synergy, Preet Chando. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Stronger together, stay home, stay safe. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Shravya. Thank you so much. Beautiful session, Dia. You were brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay. So, relaxed. Dia, were you tense? Were you nervous before this?
A bit, not much, but yeah, a bit.
Really nice. You were brilliant, Bacha. You set the standard so high already. Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Idhant, Viraj, Jaina, Amanat, and
Yoshka.
You all were so good,
So
guys.
brilliant. Really, yes. It was so nice to see all of them speak.
No. So, what do you think of the session, Dia, Amana, Jaina, and Nyoshka, she's there?
I think it was a great way for us to explore more, and according to me, the children of our age hate writing because after this session, I am sure I would love to influence people on writing more about creative writing.
I swear, Bacha, with the kind of confidence you have, you're gonna rock it, man. Totally. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mannat and Puja ma'am, for giving Dia a brilliant opportunity. Thank you so much.
And special thanks to Aina. She's been really helping us out. And thank you so much, Aina.
My pleasure, Mannat. Always there for you.
And he was so cute. And Viraj, where's Viraj? Has he gone?
Viraj, please show your face.
Hi, Viraj.
I hope you learned.
What does Shravya say? Should you be playing too much on smartphones or not? To explore creative side of yours.
I'm sure you were using your smartphone, Viraj, switching off the camera, huh? You're caught now.
No, I think it was a brilliant session. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Anything else?
Thank you, Mannathabi. I think the kids got a great opportunity to come online, face the camera and talk and learn. Very nice. Dia, you were
Thank you, Mannathabi, for such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.
Nice session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mannat. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Shilpa. You were at the back door.
I
walked in to say hi.
Hi. He was so cute. He was so particular about his, angle and everything, and he was so well poised.
I'm glad. Really wonderful opportunity. Thank you, girls. Really.
We're going to be sending all of them a certificate from FLO. It takes a lot to be, facing the camera, to be there on the screen. So we're going to do that for your
Thank you so
confidence,
much.
guys.
Thank
you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Lovely listening to you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great going, kids. Well, very well done. So proud to see
Thank
these
you.
kids.
Thank you, Pallavi auntie.